network incidents. So remember how we do the class? We look at each concept and then we do some multiple choice, or we do some scenarios to go with it. So this morning we'll be looking at understanding network incidents. And in the cybersecurity world, there's so much things that is going to go on within the network that you'll have to figure out. You'll have to remedy the situation, and so that's what we're going to look at this morning. So when we talk about network incident, we're saying that network incidents are disruption or violation that negatively impact the confidentiality, integrity, and the availability of the network system and services. So it's anything that is going to disrupt the network in such a way that it impacts the confidentiality, the integrity, and the availability of the system and services or the data, right? And we know that the three important things that we're constantly looking at here is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So again, the network incidents are disruption or violations that negatively impact the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the network system, their services, or the data. And these incidents can range from low level to high level cyber attacks. Okay, and understanding them is critical for an organization to safeguard against them. So we have to understand exactly what these are, and so we can safeguard against any such disruption, right? So please keep that in mind, that these incidents can range from low to high level impact, cyber attacks, right? And we have to be able to understand them in order for us to safeguard against them. So let's move to the next slide. So definition of network, we said already that network and network security. So we look at the network security. We're saying the network security incident is an event detected in the network. We gave another definition earlier, so this is another definition. So it's not far from the definition that we had, but it's another way to define it. So the network security incident is an event detected in a network that indicates a possible breach of policy, security failure, or an attack, right? So it is a network security is an incident. It is an event that you can detect in the network that indicates that there is a possible breach of the policy. Maybe somebody wasn't following the policies and procedures, and so they left a loophole, and for some reason malicious attacker got in, virus got in, or it could be security failure, right? Or an attack. And these incidents can involve malicious activity or unintended errors, right? That result in vulnerability or compromise. So sometimes it's malicious. It's the malicious attacker decide that they're going to attack your system, and sometimes it can just be a error that you didn't plan for. Something happened and it disrupt or it compromise the vulnerability in the system, right? There are two major categories. You have intentional incident. It's deliberate action taken by the threat actors, right? Like a hackers, like a cyber criminal, like a disgruntled insider. So sometimes you have disgruntled employees within the system, and they decide that they're going to sabotage your security system, right? Your network security. So that is what we say, these are intentional. It's not accidentally. They make up their minds that this is what they're going to do. A hacker, a cyber criminal, all of these people comes with an intention to disrupt the network and to create chaos. So the unintentional incidents are mistake or misconfiguration, right? So sometimes you can mistakenly click on a link that has some form of virus in it, and it results in a disruption of the network. Sometimes it's a misconfiguration. Sometimes you're configuring the network and you didn't configure it properly. Probably you tested it and you still didn't go back. There wasn't a second person or a group of person that will test to make sure the system is running properly, right? And by legitimate, misconfigure by authorized users of the system. So you can have an email opening, open ports, failed patches. Sometimes what happened is that the patch date passed, right? And you didn't have anything to remind you that there was a patch coming up, and so because the patch wasn't done, accidentally it passed. And so those malicious individuals or hackers that are surfing around got to your system right in time because you didn't do the patching. Could be again an email that looks legit, an employee accidentally clicked on that email, and so it creates chaos in the network, right? So, and it could be that too, that you patch the system but the patching you gave it failed, right? It could be an open port. You probably did a pen testing or something of that sort, and then you didn't close the ports, right? And so those are what we call unintentional incident that happens. So you have intentional, it's deliberate. It's deliberate, right? Because they target your specific system. It's deliberate because that employee went ahead and either wiped the logs out, either use a corrupt thumb drive, something they inject SQL in your network, something they did it deliberate, right? So those are reasons. So let's look at common types of network incident. We said understanding the various types of network incident enables better detection and response. Okay, so when we get to understand the type of network incident, then we can able to detect them better. Or are you going to detect something that you have no clue what it is and how it works and how you can remedy that kind of situation? Okay, so when we have malware infections, malware is a types of network incident. Okay, so these involve the infiltration of malicious software such as virus, worms, trojans, ransomware, spyware into the network. So these, they infiltrate them in the network, right? Right. So when this happens, your network is out of whack, right? So spyware into network, malware can spread, it can spread laterally and steal sensitive data or encrypt your system for ransomware. So malware is something that will disrupt the entire network, and it can steal your data, and it will encrypt it for ransomware. Okay, so another one that we could look at is unauthorized access, right? This happens when an individual gains access to the network systems or data without permission. So unauthorized, so we have malware infection, unauthorized access, and the unauthorized access happen when individual gain access to your network system or your data without permission. And this may involve stolen credential, brute force attacks, or exploitation of access control flaws. So bear in mind that these are two of what we're going to look at. So we said malware, this can spread, this can steal sensitive data. We said unauthorized access, you gain access to a system or a network without any permission, and you can use brute force to do that. You can steal credentials when you do that, and we have to make sure that we're safeguarding against those. Another one is data exfiltration. When we talk about data exfiltration, and a lot of companies now, they have data loss and prevention on their system, where if you are trying to take information or email anything that is sensitive from the organization, it blocks it. So a lot of organizations now are becoming aware of the means and the ways they can prevent data exfiltration, right? So data exfiltration is unauthorized transfer of sensitive data out of the network. It often done in a malicious or subtle way over time using encrypted tunnels or hidden within legitimate traffic. So sometimes they use a tunnel, an encrypted tunnel, to hide it, right? So even when the malicious persons trying to exfiltrate the information, it is hidden and seems to be legitimate, right? Distributed denial of service is another. So remember, now we're looking at types of network incident. So we have denial of services, right? Distributed denial of service, DDoS, is an attack that is designed to overwhelm your network resources, making them unavailable to the right or authorized users. And this can be used as a distraction while other attacks are carried out. So sometimes malicious attackers will overwhelm your network so that the resources and the network and the information is not available to you. But sometimes it is a sidetrack, meaning that while they're trying to do that, they're trying to get in other area of your system. Right? So denial of services, we said, is an attack designed to overwhelm the network resource, making them unavailable to legitimate users. These can be used as a distraction while other attacks are carried out. So we have to be mindful that these network incidents happens every day, and we see them all the time. We hear them in the news, right? We sometimes, when you go to your job, you will have to sign a contract that you will not transfer companies' information to unauthorized users. And many companies have tools available to them that they can install or put in their system to prevent you from transferring any data out of your system. Distributed denial of service is something that we cannot 100% stop it from happen, but we have systems and in place that can help us just in case any such thing happens. Okay, so again, distributed denial of service, it's an attack designed to overwhelm the network resource, making them unavailable to the right user or authorized users, and these can be used as a distraction while other attack is being carried out. So another network incident is what we call the inside threats, right? We have inside threats. Employees or contractors who misuse their access, right? Either maliciously or accidentally. This includes data theft, sabotage, or sharing of credentials. So that's another problem that we face in terms of what we call network incident. We have insider threat. And these people are disgruntled people. These people are people that misuses the resource. And that's the reason many companies have policies in place as to how you access and how you use their resources, right? Right? So we have all of that. And so this include the aim to steal data and to sabotage and to share credentials. And whether you believe it or not, you do have insiders, contractors, and employees that, because of the way they feel about the company, or they might not be in agreement with a supervisor or a manager, that they will aim to sabotage that company. They will aim to share credentials. They aim to steal data, bring their own thumb drive and try. But in many places there are rules and policies when it comes on to transferring information. Sometimes you realize that you're trying to transfer data out of an organization and you realize that it cannot go through, and that is because they blocked it. They have data loss prevention in place that will prevent you from transferring any data out of the organization. Another incident is phishing and social engineer, right? And earlier on in our lessons, we spoke about these. It's a deceptive tactic used to trick user into revealing credentials, clicking on malicious links, or installing malware, right? And this is often the entry point for a large attack. So sometimes when you get those kind of phishing email, there is up on social engineering, where you are deceived into clicking a link, where you are deceived into reveal credentials. Sometimes it's a form that you are asked to fill. Sometimes these email comes like it coming from a authorized legit company or contractors or people that you're familiar with, but the aim of it is that you fill out information, and sometimes it's about you. It could be they said that your Facebook was hacked, log in, or your account is in jeopardy and you have to change the password, when in fact it's just a means they're trying to use to gather information from you to use against you. Okay, so, and then we have what is called network reconnaissance. In the network reconnaissance, the attacker will scan your network to discover live hosts, open ports, and vulnerability. This is what attackers do. They're going to try every means to create a problem on your network, right? So what they will do is do a reconnaissance, and a reconnaissance is when you try to find ways of gathering information about an attacker, a person that you're going to attack, your victims, right? You're trying to see if, are there any open ports, are there any vulnerability, did you miss a patch, can we get you to click onto an email link that is to lure you to share credential. While often overlooked, this is the most target attack, reconnaissance, because in reconnaissance information can be found about your system and about your organization, maybe not necessarily system, your organization within public spaces. And then zero-day exploit. These are attacks that exploit vulnerability unknown to the vendor and therefore unpatched. So when we talk about vulnerability being a problem and an incident, a network incident, is that if you buy a piece of cyber equipment, right, and few months, what happened when you buy, let's say you buy a laptop, what happened when you buy that laptop is that that particular brand of laptop, hackers or malicious attackers are looking out to see if there was any vulnerabilities, right? So the attackers are always searching to find out, okay, you have a HP computer that just come out. So the attackers are constantly on it, searching. It's the same thing when, let's put it another way, it's the same thing if you have a iPhone and you have the newest Pro of iPhone. Attackers are out there every day trying to see if there are any vulnerabilities with these iPhones. They're constantly on the search. And sometimes they know because somebody from the manufacturer, remember we talked about that earlier on, somebody can install malicious backdoors or malicious ways to get in the Pro phone, right? It could be done from the manufacturer. It could be done from the third party. It could be done while it's in transit. Okay, so anything is possible, and so these attackers are always searching. So as soon as a new iPhone comes out, they are out there. As soon as there's a new gadget comes out, they are out there searching constantly to find out if there are any vulnerability that you and I don't know about, that the vendor who sold us this phone don't know about. But usually they catch it. The attackers catch it. And so the producer of the iPhone or the producer of the laptop now when they find out, attackers would have already find out, right? And so if you don't patch the problem, when they always say that you need to update it and you don't update it, right? Attackers can always get to your phone, get to your network, and they can exploit you. They can do whatever they desire, right? Because you didn't update it, or as they said you were supposed to do. You didn't do any. You didn't patch it, right? So the 0-day attack, these are attacks that exploit vulnerability unknown to the vendor and therefore is unpatched. So there's an attack, there's a vulnerability rather. The vendor don't know it, the customer don't know it, but the attacker get to it faster. They pose a high risk due to the lack of defense, because at this time only the attackers know about it, right? The vendor don't know. And so they try as attackers to do their schemes against these networks and against the vulnerabilities rather that are present. So let's look at threat actors behind the network incident. So there are threat actors that are behind network incidents, right? So we're going to look at the threat actors behind the network incident. Who are these threat actors that are behind network incident? Who are the person that is doing distributed denial of service? Who are the person that we just talked about that is trying to do reconnaissance? Who are these inside? Who are they? So that's what we're going to be looking at. Understanding the types of individuals or group responsible for network incident is crucial, right? For developing an effective defense strategy. So we have to understand who are these people that is behind all of this. We have to understand it so we can develop a strong defense strategies, right? These threat actors have different motivation, and they have different level of sophistication, and their action can vary widely in scope and impact. So all of those malicious attackers, the persons that are trying to bring down your network, they all have different motivation as to why they are doing that, right? So we have one is cyber criminals, right? The cyber criminals, they are financially motivated, right? So if I am going to pay you, a group of you, money to go into somebody's system, you are motivated by gain. You're gaining some financial, or you're trying to steal money from people. So the tactic that these people use, that is the cyber criminals, they are motivated by financial gain. Their tactic is to deploy ransomware. So the people that you see doing ransomware, WannaCry, all of those kind of ransomware, they want money. They are motivated by money. And so that's why they carrying out the action. So anything that you see, like ransomware, pay the ransom, all of the money. So they deploy ransomware, they're stealing banks' credentials, they sell data on the dark web, they run a phishing campaign, because at the end of the day, these cyber criminals need money. Let's look at an example. A ransomware group encrypts a file and demand payment in cryptocurrency for this decryption. And sometimes we have heard it all the time. Sometimes they charge millions. And sometimes even when you give them the money, when you pay the ransom to them, they don't decrypt your documents, right? They don't. So because they want more money, or they will demand more money. So these are how these cyber criminals work. They are motivated by financial gain and nothing else. Activists. Who are the activists? And they are political ideology or social cause, right? So they are motivated by politics, the political, they have some ideologies, and so they are motivated by that cause. How does activists work? The website defacement, they deface their website, they leak data, they do the distributed denial of service attack against organization. they oppose. So they may not like your organization, they may deface your website, they may leak data because they opposed you. So, for an example, a group of leaks sensitive government document in protest of policy. So they may, and we see this all the time, guys. You may have governments that people not interested in, they oppose against them, they oppose their policies, and they just leak their information to the public. Another one that we have is called nation state actors. Their motivation is espionage. They are very sophisticated, they are very advanced, they are very intelligent. They gather their information, they disrupt foreign infrastructure. So these are people like who they will call the Chinese people that get into the system. They're like the Chinese group, China, right? Foreign enemies, okay? So tactics, the advanced persistent threat, the APTS, APT, advanced persistent threat, zero-day exploit, they do sophisticated malware, okay? And so an example of this is a government-backed group infiltrate a critical infrastructure, provides, they are there to steal sensitive data or implement destructive malware, right? So, and a lot of this nation state attack take place. That's why countries and places always trying to defend. And so the other one that we have is insider threats. Insider threat. What is the motivation behind people within? What is the motivation of why a contractor or why an employee will be a threat to your network, right? Revenge, right? Negligence, financial incentive, somebody paying them to do it. Revenge, they didn't like what you do or how you treat them or how you lay them off, right? So what are their tactics? Data theft. They steal your data. The privilege misuse. So if you were the administrator, you misuse your privileges. You sabotage your system. You may change around some information. You unauthorized access. You're trying all of that. That's inside threats. An example of that could be a disgruntled employee downloads clicked data before resigning and sharing it with a competitor. So sometimes what you have is that, okay, I'm going to resign, or you do me something, whatever. I am going to download clients' information, all of the clients' data, and I am going to share it with your competitors, sharing your secrets with competitors, right? So we have script kiddie, which is another one, and motivation. They just want to be noticed. They are bored. They are curious. They are, or they just want to show that we want to be seen, right? Their tactics, they use pre-written tools or script to launch an attack without deep technical knowledge. So they're just running the scripts, right? They don't know exactly what they are doing. An example of that may be a teenager use a tool to run a DDoS attack on a gaming server to impress peers. And by the time you know it, it is way out of proportion. Get out of control. So when we look at, I'm not sure why this slide is not coming up. So when we look at that, and so we have the competitors, the corporate espionage, right? Espionage, right? Motivation, gaining business advantage. Their tactics is stealing trade secret, customer data, intellectual property, throughout infiltration or inside bribery. So sometimes you have competitors that will pay others to get information on their behalf, right? So you have they sometimes they steal trade secrets, right? Sometimes they steal customer data, right? And they do all of that, and that can affect an organization. An example may be a rival companies hire a hacker to breach a competitor's network. So, and it happens. Trust me, if you don't think it happened, you read out there. Sometimes many of these malicious attackers or hackers that you see out there, people pay them to do their jobs sometimes. So let's look at now the impact of network incidents. The impact of network incident. What are some of the impact of network incidents? What are the impact of network incident? The consequences of network incidents can be wide range, right? It can be wide, and it can be massive too. Those impacts, network impacts. So let's look at some of them. We have data loss, compromised intellectual property or customer data, operational downtime, disruption of business process or critical system, right? So we have data loss, and the data loss can lead to compromised intellectual property or customer data operational downtime. It can lead to the same data loss can lead to disruption of business process or critical systems. Financial loss, ransomware payments, right? Paying to remedy the cost, the loss of revenue because of the network incidents. That's huge. Reputational damage. In the reputational damage, we have loss of trust among customers and partners, regulatory fines, because now they're going to look at your policies and procedure and see what was breached. Were you following the regulation? If it is the card company, if it is IPA, you will be fined, right? They will find if a violation of data protection law. Were you following the IPA law? Were you following the GDPR law regulation? You see, so you lose in the end. You lose your reputation, you have data loss and financial loss. These are the impact of network incident. And then we see legal action fee, right? You're gonna have to get lawyer, you're having lawsuits, investigation from the people that are affected by this, and you have to pay all of those fees and fines. So you see, being on top of protecting your network is very important. At the end of the day, it doesn't worth not being on top. Just to hire somebody to make sure your network is being taken care of, to make sure that you are following systems and procedure. You can pay somebody to keep them on the book to do the job, instead of you have to go through all of this, and then in the end you are sorry because you missed it, and now you are at a loss. And some business, once their reputations are damaged, there is no comeback. That's why you see many organizations that under new management. Sometimes it's not new management, it's just that they found where they went wrong, and they're trying to fix it and to give another face to the organization. Proactive preparation, right? Organizations should not wait for a major incident to happen before taking action. And we say that all the time. In an ever-changing technological world, you should never wait until something happens before you take action. You must always be on top of everything. Be proactive. Proactive preparation involves maintaining up-to-date asset inventories, applying strong access control measures, conducting regular vulnerability scans and penny testing, training employee and cybersecurity awareness, implementing layers of defense, firewall, antivirus, SIM, all of that. So when you are taking a proactive action, you are actually saying, I am trying to prevent all of this before it happens. Don't wait until it happens. It probably costs you what you never budgeted for. And even when it costs you, your reputation may never be regained. So you have to take some proactive action. Put your firewall in. Put your antivirus in. Train your employee not to click on certain email or when they get certain calls from malicious attackers or hackers. They know how to handle those in social engineering, right? Apply strong access control measure so it's not everybody can access the system. And even if they are given access in the system, that there's something they are not authorized to open or to share. So you can have a central system. I can go on it. Authorization, that's authorization. You can go on it, but you cannot go on the Department of Finance. You cannot go on the medical department. You can only go on where you are authorized to be, and you cannot alter or change anything if you don't have that permission. So let's look at some scenarios right here. It states that ransomware attack on a healthcare network, right? Incident type, malware infection. Threat actors, criminals. Description, let's look at it. A hospital networks become encrypted after an employee click a malicious link in a phishing email disguised as a vendor invoice. So look at the trick. So let's say that you have a well-known vendor that you use. You have a well-known vendor that you're using. You got an email from those vendors, right? Because it looks real. And then the employee clicks on it because it looks like one of your vendors, right? So it came as an invoice. The ransomware spread quickly throughout the shared drive, locking out critical systems, including patient records and diagnostic tool. This is serious. Investigation, right? Analysts trace the phishing email and identify the initial point of infection. Logs reveal lateral movement using SBS, using a server message block protocol. Attacker used a PowerShell script to disable antivirus before launching the ransomware, and that's why they did the word alert, because they disabled the antivirus. So in this case, this attacker is very smart. So look at the whole scenario right here. They encrypt. After the employee click on the malicious email, it's a phishing email, the email looks like one of their vendors' invoice, and they click it. Let's look at the remedy. In this case, to remedy the situation, we have to isolate the infected system and remove the ransomware files. Restore the system from verified backups. Implement email filtering. Use training and endpoint detection tools. So that's what we're going to do next. And report the incident to authorities under the HIPAA guidelines. And what HIPAA will do is to make sure that you didn't breach anything, right? So they're going to look at all of that in their investigations. So once a system is infected, we have to move that infected system. We have to isolate it so it doesn't spread. And then what we have to do is to restore the system from verified backups. So you would have had all your backups, and so you would restore the system from those. Another scenario is incident data and insider data theft at a tech company. Type insider. So this person on the inside. The one that we just looked at was a cyber criminal from the outside. The threat actor is a disgruntled employee. So let's look at what this insider disgruntled employee did. A departing software engineer A departing software engineer at a technology company download source code and client information before their final day. The breach is discovered weeks later when a competitor launched a very similar product. Investigation: the SIM tool revealed unusual access to confidential repository at odd hours. USB activity log confirmed files were copied externally. Endpoint logs show unauthorized file transfer days before resignation. So the SIM right here is a tool that you use to collect data and to alert you on the system, and we spoke about that earlier. What are the remedies to this? Terminate employee credential and audit all access log. So what they didn't do, they probably did not terminate the employee's access when the employee left. They didn't right away did it. And it's obvious that this employee knew that probably there were other employees that have left and they didn't terminate. And sometimes they don't terminate them right away. Right? So what they will have to do is to notify legal and compliance team for potential intellectual property theft. They have to do that. They have to conduct an internal policy review and implement a data loss prevention tools that is in the future what you're trying to when you're trying to send data out of this organization, it is blocked. Right? Update the offboarding procedure to restrict access due notice period. So they didn't take care to do all of this. Terminate your credentials. Notify, they didn't have any DLP, data loss prevention tools in place. And they did not have any offboarding procedure when people are being terminated for a job, when people are on vacation and all of that. You put those in place so that when they are not there, they cannot access the system. Very important. Another scenario is distributed denial of service attack on an e-commerce website. We talk about that. The incident is called distributed denial of service. The threat actor is an activist, and let's look at the case. An e-commerce site experienced a flood of traffic, causing it to crash repeatedly, right? So an e-commerce website experienced a flood of traffic, causing it to crash repeatedly. The attacker coincides with the company launching a controversial product line. Social media reveal activist group claiming responsibility, right? So sometimes with these activist people, when they are not in line with what you're doing, remember we said that the activists are the ones that have ideology. They may have a problem with your policy. They may have a problem with what you're doing. And so they would do the defacing and all of that of your website. So here is what happened with this e-commerce website. Why the problem? They said the attacker did not like what the company was launching. They said they were launching a controversial product line, right? So they have a problem with the product line that was being launched. And so they went on social media, because remember we said that activists and all of these people, they come out there because of their ideology, right? So let's look at this. Investigating. Network traffic analysis show abnormal request spike from thousands of IPs worldwide. Many requests originated from known botnets, right? No internal compromise is found. What are we going to do? Deploy a cloud-based DDoS mitigation service, a camouflage, right? Update the firewall rules to limit income traffic. We're going to monitor the sentiment analysis tool for further threat warnings, and we're going to coordinate with the PR to handle media fallout, right? So we're going to do all of that. The next one is a 0 day. So let's look at the 0-day one. The 0-day exploit in a financial institution. Incident type, this is advanced persistent threat. Threat actor, nation state. We talked about that earlier. So a financial firm is unknowingly targeted by a state sponsored group using 0-day exploit in their firewall software. The threat actor remain undetected for months, right? Undetected for months, going through customers' financial data, right? For months they're doing that. Threat hunting reveal persistence, encrypted outbound traffic to unknown IP. Reverse engineering uncovers a previously unknown exploit in the firewall software. Multiple backdoors and command and control beacons are found across the endpoints. That was a problem that they found there. Let's look at how misconfiguration can lead to public data exposure. So in this scenario, we have misconfiguration leads to public data exposure. Incident type, accidental data leak. Because remember, we said they are intentional and they are unintentional. And one of the unintentional one that we looked at was misconfiguration that can lead to your network being a problem, right? So the threat actor, unintended internal error from within. An IT admin at a small nonprofit company misconfigure an AWS bucket, leaving donors and beneficiary data exposed to the public internet for several weeks. Alert from a cloud security posture management tool flag up the public access, right? A public scan confirm exposed personal identifiable information. Audit logs trace the change to a configuration update during a rush deployment. So that was a problem. What's the remedy for this? Partner with the vendor to patch 0-day vulnerability. Conduct a deep threat eradication across the environment. Reuse customers' credential and report to regulators, right? And you could also initiate a long-term forensic audit and strengthen your defense. And another way that you could deal with the situation is revoke public access and rotate all exposed credentials. You could notify affected individuals and comply with data breach law. You can implement automated cloud compliance tools and change control procedure. All of those are things that you can put in place that will help you to prevent your network from going down. So let's look at some questions. Multiple choice. What is typically the first step in responding to a detected network incident? What would you do first? Is it A, notify the media? B, restoring from backup immediately? C, contain and isolate the affected system? D, reboot all network. The first thing that you do when you are responding to network incident is to isolate the system, because you don't want it to spread. When a person have a disease that we don't want to catch, we isolate from them, right? So that's the same thing here. 3, in a ransomware attack, what is the best practice for remediation? What it is. Pay the ransom quickly to recover file. Contact the attackers directly. Format all hardware drive across the network. You must isolate the infected system, and restore from a clean backup. That's the first thing you're going to do in a ransomware. Which of the following is an example of insider threats? Is it a former employee exploiting unrevoked credential? B. A ransomware attack from a phishing? A DDoS attack from a foreign IP? An exploit or zero-day vulnerability. So in this case, an insider is a person that don't work there anymore, but their credentials were not revoked. Which tool is most effective for detecting insider threats? What can we use to detect insider threat? And when we said insider threat, we're talking about you trying to attempt to email any sensitive information from the company. Is it a port scanner? Is it a VPN? Data loss and prevention, we talk about that. Domain name system, no. So we're talking about data loss prevention. It is a tool that is used to prevent people from sending out information that are sensitive to the organization. That's one of its purpose. Question 4. Which of the following would most likely indicate data exfiltration? Encrypt outbound traffic to unfamiliar IP address, multiple failure login attempts, public website experiences slow load time, users being redirected to phishing page. So in this case, it will be encrypted outbound traffic to unfamiliar IP address. A non-profit organization discovers that its donor data was accessible online due to a misconfiguration of a AWS bucket. What is this type of incident? So remember we said we have intentional and unintentional incident, and we'll look at those things that falls under intentional. So in this case here we said unintentional data leak. Number 7, a threat actor gained unauthorized access and remain undetected for months stealing data. This is likely the work of an activist group, a nation state using APTA, a board, ScriptKid, and ethical hacker. So this will be a nation state. What is the primary purpose of isolating a compromised device during an incident response? Why are we isolating the device? A, to allow uninterrupted user access. B, to prevent future spreading of data. So what we are trying to do when we isolate, guys, we are trying to prevent any further spreading of the attack. Right? So bear that in mind. So let's look at the remediation, right? Restoring the network integrity. So when we talk about remediation, we're talking about restoring the network integrity after an incident. So that's what we're going to talk about. So after there's an incident on the network, then there goes we have to remedy the situation. We have to restore the integrity after the incident. So remediation is a crucial phase in incident response, in the life cycle of incident response. It basically focuses on eliminating, get rid of the threat, restoring the system, preventing further occurrence, preventing it from happening again. And once an incident is investigated, understood, the remediation process begins to contain damage and it restores normal operation and strengthen the security posture. What is the goal of remediation? What if the goal of restoring back the system, the integrity, and everything, is to remove all trace of the threat actor, the malware or the misconfiguration, right? So it's to remove all the trace of it. It's to restore the system to known good state. It is to ensure vulnerabilities are patched exploit vectors are closed, right? It's to implement lessons learned to prevent it from happen again. Some key steps in remediation is containment and eradication. Before full remediation, affected system must be contained and clean, right? Isolate the infected host from the network to prevent lateral spread. Kill the malicious processes and remove the malware artifacts. We're going to revoke compromised credentials and access token. And we're going to identify persistent mechanisms such as scheduled tasks, registry, edit, and all of that to ensure it doesn't happen again. We're going to patch and update system. This is all remediation, right? We're going to apply the patches for exploited vulnerability. Apply patches for exploited vulnerability, OS, application, firewall, firmware. We're going to update our security configuration, our firewall rules, our group policies, just to make sure that this don't happen again. We're going to upgrade our outdated software, because maybe that was a problem in the first place that created the network incident. Software that might have been a part of the attack vectors, we're going to make sure those are updated. We're going to restore everything from a clean backup. So now that that happened, let's restore the system. So restore the data and the system only from verified malware free backups. We're going to ensure that the system are restored with current security patches. We talk about that. We're going to monitor for reinfection. We got to look at that. We're going to validate the integrity through a checksum or file integrity monitoring. So after we do that, then we're going to harden and configure the affected system. We're going to harden it. We're going to put all the necessary things in it to secure it. So we're going to rebuild and re-image the compromised machine, especially in the case of deep compromise. We're going to implement security hardening standard. We're going to use a CIS benchmark. We're going to reconfigure, expose, and misconfigure asset, cloud storage, open ports. We're going to insecure protocol. We're going to implement security hardening, and we're going to reconfigure. We're going to also, in this phase, we're going to reset access control. Who have access? We're going to rotate all passwords, access keys, API tokens. We're going to reevaluate the permission apply principle for least privilege, so people don't have access all of it. We're going to implement multi-factor authentication, so just not anybody can get into the system. We're going to monitor and validate, right? We're going to closely monitor logs. We're going to monitor the network traffic. We're going to do endpoint for signs. We're going to monitor for signs of persistence or reinfection, right? We're going to do all of that. We're going to set up alerts to indicators of any compromise, right? To covering, so when there are any compromise, we are alert. We're going to perform follow-up scan using SIEMs and EDR and antivirus tools, so we are alert of anything that is happening. And another thing that we're going to do is communicate and report. This is maybe the final phase, right? We're going to notify affected stakeholders. We have to. Regulatory bodies are required by law to be notified. HIPAA, CCPA, GDPR, all of those have to be notified. We're going to provide clear instruction to users about any action they need to take, right? Password or reset. We have to make sure that every area is taken care of in the process. So the long-term prevention measure, we can put that in place post remediation. We're going to conduct a post-incident review, okay, to analyze what went wrong. What did we do wrong? How to improve? So we're going to do all of that after the network incident happened. We're going to update the incident response plan based on findings. So we're going to update that. Then we're going to deliver a target security awareness training to prevent human error. We're going to perform a pen testing at all times to ensure there is no gap. All gaps are closed. Then we're going to implement what we call a zero trust architect, where that will be applicable. So some tools that are commonly used in remediation is endpoint detection response, to that it's used to remove malware and monitor for re-entry. We can use backup and recovery solution to restore system quickly. Configuration management tools, those are tools that we can use to push hardened configuration across the system. We can use patch management system for updating and securing the software. We can use a SIM platform. This analyze logs and watch for ongoing threats, and it do makes alert about them, right? So I believe this is the end of our class. Have yourself a great day.